Hey everybody, it's Shizug and welcome back to Breaking the Deadlock. Today we're taking a look at a pro replay. We're looking at Deadlock Fight Night number 2, North America. This is game 1 of the grand finals in this show match, where teams Hydra Nation and Bottom Barrel were competing both for a $1,000 prize pool. In this video, we're going to be investigating the 5-minute timer when buffs and the urn spawns, and we're going to talk about how Hydra Nation makes these timings actually turn into something great for their team and how it propels them to win the game in the end. Once we get a better understanding about how Hydra Nation plays as a team around that 5-minute marker, we're going to be able to implement it into our own games and better understand that timing. Alright, we're joining Quig's perspective here at the 10-minute mark in this game, and we're going to see how he plays. First off, he's going over to the bridge and he's starting to camp the buff, right? And you'll notice on the other side of the map too, Flick is doing the same thing. They're both playing for the buffs. And the state of the map kind of lets them play for this, right? They won all their lanes, they have an 8k lead, and they've roughly pushed all their lanes across the other side of the map. And it's all right to have those middle lanes not entirely pushed out, because this is a good thing for you to rotate over and take in the meantime. And we see actually Hydration is going and doing that. He's playing for that middle lane. But what we see Quig do is, instead of playing on this right side of the map, he actually goes and he rotates over to the left. If you don't know, the urn can spawn randomly on the left or right side of the map at each of these 5-minute intervals starting at 10 minutes. So what he does is he runs from getting the buff. He was already set up. If it spawned on the right, he was going to take it there, but he rotates over to the absolute left side of the map. He wants to take this urn and traverse it across the map. Now we have this 8k soul lead, and it's getting smaller as time goes on, but we're going to be taking a look at the map movements that happens with Quig and Team Hydra Nation as a whole. As you see, they're kind of escorting Quig to the drop-off point. Note, he's not on the map right now. Quig isn't on the map with this urn, so him traversing the map isn't actually going to reveal him, but Team Bottom Barrel should have a pretty good read on what's going on here. They know that they want to deliver the urn. And something I want to point out here is what Flick and Hydration are doing. They're actually going and invading the jungle while Quig is delivering the urn. So Quig's dropping off the urn, and they are aggressively posturing here, but they're also taking camps at the same time. So going back a little bit here while they're still escorting Quig, this is actually accomplishing two things. Not only are they aggressing on the map, they're putting on pressure, they're keeping the other team, they're keeping Bottom Barrel on their side of the map, they're also stealing the farm at the same time. And we found this out in another video that we made talking about Team Buff Enjoyers, where Team Buff Enjoyers kind of did the same thing. They farm aggressively to maintain their lead. If you deny camps on the other side of the map, you're going to form a benefit for yourself. But Team Hydra Nation, they actually go even a step further. They escort the urn, they secure the urn, and they also farm aggressively at the same time. And note also who got the buff, right? Flick, this person who was playing aggressively on the urn, we went back a little bit to take a look at the buff. He got a gun buff, and he's making sure to use this buff and force the objective with it. It's going to let Flick fight more aggressively and outperform the enemies that don't have the buffs. So not only are they farming aggressively with the urn and making sure that they get the benefit of the urn, they're also utilizing those buffs that they just picked up and forcing the objective with those as well. And going forward again, sorry for jumping around so much, we're going to take a look at this soul lead. It goes from 56 to 48, and then that balloons all the way up to 60 to 48. And that's still with Flick hitting safes, still claiming the farm on the map that they were aggressively farming for with that urn turnover. And that 8k soul lead that we just saw that they had, it quickly ballooned up to a 13k soul lead, and it's also denied some of the farm on the map that's available for Bottom Barrel. Jumping forward again, we're at the 14-minute mark, and we're going to be crossing over to that 15-minute boundary. Yet again, we're going to see the buff spawn, we're going to see the urn spawn, and this objective of the game, this kind of stalemate that they're at, even though they're farming aggressively, we're going to see that break. So we can take a look at who's on buffs. We see Abrams is on the left side, we have Leffa on the right side, and they're going to collect the buffs when they spawn. So Quig is running the urn across, same kind of play as before. He's getting escorted across the map. The lanes for Hydra Nation are in a good spot, but what we notice here is a fight breaks out, right? We see that a fight is happening, it's going to occur. Quig's going to drop the urn and end up fighting instead. He's going to leave the urn on the ground, and as this fight progresses, since Team Hydra Nation has a soul lead, they're going to take an advantageous fight that they just forced. They forced the hand of Bottom Barrel to actually go and take this fight. Otherwise, Hydra Nation gets the urn, they build up an even greater soul lead, and then the game falls apart for them. Instead of delivering the urn, Quig actually goes and takes mid-boss instead. And we can see our urn is up here walking away, but they quickly go and they pick it up. So Hydra Nation is not only actually able to get the mid-boss, but they also get their urn delivery at the same time. So what Team Hydra Nation was able to do was they were able to force a fight when they were winning. They had that soul lead already, and they were able to tell Bottom Barrel, hey, you need to show up and fight us right now, otherwise we're going to deliver the urn, we're going to get more souls, we're going to get more AP, and that's going to suck for you. Team Bottom Barrel, they showed up, they answered the call, they knew that they were going to lose if they didn't respond to that fight. What happens is they lose the fight, and that soul deficit that they were already at crumbles even more. So I also want to point out what's happening simultaneously as Quig's running the urn across and causing this team fight to happen in this 15-minute cycle. Leffa on Wraith is actually mirroring the map movements of his team and creating a split push going on at the same time. He's basically telling the other team, if you don't come and fight for this walker, I'm going to take it. And if you let us take the urn, we're going to get that as well. So it's kind of forcing Bottom Barrel into choosing one or the other. Do we let them deliver the urn, or do we let the Wraith get our walker? So that ends up with the Infernus coming over to defend the walker. And at this point, Infernus is feeling a little bit stronger than he was before. He's one of the richer people on his team. And although Leffa doesn't actually end up getting the walker, he causes Infernus to go over and rotate over and defend the walker anyway. This causes the Infernus not to be at the team fight, which causes the disaster of this game, letting them get the urn and the rejuvenator, and then the game falls apart entirely. It's also important to note that Wraith is one of these slippery heroes that is able to do this. Even if Infernus kind of went on her, if he flame dashed and ulted in, all he had to do was turn around, use his teleport, and he'd be home free. You know, like there's not really a lot of counterplay for Infernus to use against him there. I think it's important to point out what else is going on the map while this fight is being forced with the urn, and I think that highlighting this Wraith gameplay is important because it's showing what other options you have. Besides running 6 people to go deliver the urn, this is your alternative, is split pushing and forcing objectives on the side of the map if they're going to commit a lot of people to defending the urn. And we're going to watch this cycle repeat. We see Team Hydra Nation, they're getting ready. They're in place for the buffs. 5 minutes, the 20-minute marker happens. What we see is Hydration gets a survival buff, Rocker gets a movement buff, and then they go and force the objective. We're going to see Flick on Abrams walk the urn across the map, and then as soon as that's over, they're going to go and they're going to force the lead and continue to start the cycle yet again of what they've been doing. Team Bottom Barrel wasn't able to show up for any kind of a fight to counter this. They're not in a position to. They're down 60k souls at this point. The game is basically over. It is over. And what we do see is immediately Team Hydra Nation goes and they push the base and win the game. So how can we take these lessons and implement them into your game instead? Obviously, you're not going to be able to deliver the urn and expect 5 people to follow you across the map and force a fight if you're winning. You're not going to be able to herd cats in your games. It's not going to happen. But what you can do is you can at least play for the buffs on the 5-minute markers. There's a reason that there's a pro team called Buff Enjoyers. It's absolutely an essential part of the game, and a lot of people completely ignore it in the lower MMRs, mid-tier MMRs. And I think it's essential to understand the flow of the game and the timings that revolve around the buffs and the urn spawning at the same time. I think with the more intentionality that you put behind thinking about that 5-minute timer and watching it pass and seeing how the map moves is going to help you in your games. And not every player is perfect. In these games where there are comms and you can listen to comms, the team calls it out. They say, hey, it's 9 minutes, buffs are spawning in a minute, 9:45, buffs in 15 seconds, and they ready their team to go and claim them. So even in your games, if you open up your mic and you say, hey, buffs are spawning, people are far more receptive and responsive when people do that. Additionally, if you can get your teammates to go to the bridges anyway, it makes securing the urn for your team a little bit easier where you can pick it up and start to escort it across the map. I'm not saying you should expect your team to help defend on the urn drop-off in your games, but in a lot of games, a lot of people just ignore the urn, and it's a really easy source of AP and souls for yourself, the deliverer, to make way and continue the game with. So going forward, I hope that this intentionality around the 5-minute markers helps out a lot more with you in your games. And let me know down in the comments if you've been totally ignoring the urn or if you are the dedicated urn deliverer. There's 2 types of people in the world. Urn ignorers and urn enjoyers. Which one are you? All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.